Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're at. I'm afternoon. I'm already at 1:30. I'm due from my afternoon power nap and then cup of coffee, which I'm having to delay a bit. Um, we're going to be talking to a set of filmmakers that have been funded through the TELUS Group. It's the same funding organization that funded my pilot as well, which we're also working on, called Aging by Design, and based on my book, Plan for Aging Well. But today we're not going to be talking about my project. We're going to be talking to Macaulay and Saffron Cassidy. Cassaday, I guess I say, huh? Cassaday?
Yeah.
Yeah, not Cassidy. We're going to talk about their project, DevSem and Ange. All of these projects funded through TELUS are about caregiving, and some of them are documentary, as in this production we're going to talk about today. It's a scripted series, so there is some variation on the way that you can produce these. Mine is documentary style. But regardless, the subject matter has to be caregiving. And I'm really excited for this one to see this pilot. It's so different. It's about a man, an adult man who's taking care of his aging mother, and at the same time is also taking care of his teenage son. And he's a single dad. So this brings on, so many different issues. We can call it the sandwich generation, balancing, both sides of the coin, however you want to refer to it. And I have to say, as a mother of teenagers, being a parent of a teenager is hard enough as it is. So when you throw in caregiving, and it sounds like from what I've read, it's a feisty mom, which I love. And I'm really glad it's a scripted series because there's going to be some humor that they're going to use as well. And I think that is such an important piece of caregiving, is that we have to be able to find the moments of joy and laughter and humor in our situation in order to cope. So let me introduce my two guests. First, we have Macaulay Cassidy. She's a writer and actor based in Toronto, Canada. She's appeared in TV and film in Netflix's Daredevil and South Mountain. She produced and wrote her first short film, Cancer is Gay, in 2019. Oh, I haven't. I'd love to. Do you have a link to that?
I can send it.
I would love to see that. I love the title. Already I'm sucked in. That was in 2019, and she's one of the co-founders of an online program director of Cyber Seniors, Connecting Generations. We'll talk about that too, because I have seen that as well. So we'll talk about that. And then we have her sister. Yes, they are. And I just heard that their mother is also part of their company. So good luck to you guys. Goods and bad days working with the family. We have Saffron. She's directed 2 award-winning documentary films. She's directed, edited, and produced several online, TV, and corporate projects. And her documentary, Cyber Seniors, has played to over 200 communities and broadcast in 40 countries. Welcome, ladies, or maybe not ladies. Should I do a gender identification? Is ladies
Sure.
okay?
I identify as she, they pronouns, so it's either is fine.
And
Me
Saffron,
too.
you too?
Yep,
So ladies,
same.
okay, because I've made that mistake before. One time I said, welcome, ladies, and then there was a discussion about it, and I don't want to offend anybody. So ladies, hello. Okay, so first, before we get into the current project, I want to talk about Cyber Seniors, because that's a project connecting older adults with younger adolescents, and even I think young adults, helping the older generation learn about technology, iPads, emails, apps, all those kinds of things. Talk to me a bit about that. I don't know who wants to answer, but why don't you go ahead?
I will take the start on that one, then so let me fill in some of the gaps. But Cyber Seniors, yeah, it's a project that actually was started by me and our other sister, Kasha.
That really is
teenagers.
family, yeah.
Yeah. So when we were teenagers looking to fulfill our community service hours, we decided basically to go to a local retirement home to teach some seniors how to use internet. And we recruited some of our friends. And we did that because our grandparents had learned to use technology and were using Skype and Facebook and connecting with, my cousin in Ireland and all that stuff. And we saw how great of a tool it was for them and how it really benefited them, especially as they started to age and became, less mobile, less able to move around, that they were still able to keep that connection. So it was like a twofold. We saw that and we wanted to be able to deliver that to other seniors. And also, we're in Ontario, we needed our community service hours. So we did that project. And then along the way, Saffron kind of was just starting to do film, and I think it was her first documentary. So she came along and kind of filmed some clips of us, and really, we saw a lot of great moments. And so Saffron from there created a documentary about the project. I don't know if you want to talk a bit about the documentary.
Yeah, I do. Let's just,
Yeah.
Saffron, just for a minute, because I'd like you to add on and you can answer, Saffron. First, I want to talk to you a bit about when you first initiate going out for something like that, you're trying to get community service hours, and then it's grown into something really big, which, by the way, congratulations, because most teens who are getting community service hours are not doing big things. They're doing small things to just get the hours. So already the motivation is exceptional. So, good on you guys. So Saffron, when you got into the project, that wasn't a community service hours thing for you. So you have a history in filmmaking already, or that was your first? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
At the time, I was working as an actress and a video editor. So I was editing like corporate videos. I had done a couple comedy shorts. I had never done a documentary before, but I thought this would be a great subject for a documentary. So we got a little crew together. I edited the documentary on my laptop. It was this kind of small little movie, but it actually went on to do quite well. It was on CBC in Canada, PBS and Netflix in the States. And the biggest thing was that we just did a ton of community screenings. So schools, retirement residences, community centers. And it was those community screenings that really helped get the idea of this program out into the world. And there was a lot of interest from people wanting to participate. So it's like the program inspired the documentary film, and then the documentary film allowed the program to continue. So Macaulay can elaborate on what's happened since the documentary film has come out.
Yeah.
Before you get to that, Macaulay, because I want to just ask you, how did you get funding to put all this together? You just volunteered your own time to put the documentary together?
It was self-funded, low-budget documentary film.
Amazing.
And yeah, I mean, the seniors and the students were all volunteers. We got access to 2 retirement residences in Toronto. Yeah.
Amazing. And talk to me before you talk about the life after the documentary and doing the community screenings, because I know, Macaulay, you're going to talk about what's happened since. What is the actual program? What are the kids and the seniors doing together? Like, give me the nuts and bolts of it.
So the program in its initial form and how it's been for, since we became a nonprofit in 2015 was always in person. So basically, we have a bunch of training materials that we have developed and different training modules for students to learn how to kind of teach technology to seniors. But basically all it is we pair up a young person and an older adult, and whatever the older adult maybe wants to learn to use a computer, then the young person will, walk them through it and teach it. Our whole model is based off this idea that young people are kind of naturally tech savvy, that we were, by virtue of being born into the generation that we were born into, that we kind of know our way around a computer and basic devices. And so a lot of what we kind of encourage in our volunteers and teach is how to communicate. How do you communicate something, a part of a language that, many of the people you're going to be teaching have never even heard of before, and how, how to practice patience and how to practice patience with who you're working with and yourself. So do a lot of it. Yeah. So we would go into centers, whether it's community centers, libraries, retirement homes, and there would be like little groups that would come. So you'd, come at this time this week, and it's a kind of a free for all session. You pair up with a mentor and they'll teach you about your computer, iPad, or whatever it may be. Of course, that model changed drastically in 2020 with the pandemic. And so we converted entirely to a virtual model. So now we still haven't resumed really any in-person. We hope to, of course, in the future, but I think we'll always have this hybrid model. Now we have our website. So we have a call line where seniors can call in and book a one-on-one over the phone tech support call, and we connect them through our phone system with a mentor. And we do daily webinars, and there's tech-related webinars, but there's also social sessions. We do bi-weekly trivia, and that's all over Zoom and online. So we've really continued that, and what it's allowed us to do is really expand to a level that we hadn't before. We're connecting kids in Ottawa to a senior in Florida or a senior in California, right? So it's really both in Canada and the States, and it's really widespread, and it's been great because it has allowed more accessibility to our programs. And I think it's unfortunate that even for us and for many folks, it took us this pandemic to realize that gap exists, or to really show how big of an issue that was in terms of connectivity and accessibility to technology education for seniors. But yeah, it's been amazing, incredible to watch it unfold in that kind of sphere as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, like you just said it, we now see the benefits of it, whereas before maybe we didn't have the same motivation as either a senior to learn or as a young child to connect with someone older. But now hopefully like a secondary effect of this will be that the young kids see that they can be connecting to their grandparents and those kinds of things, and it's motivated them to change their relationship within their own family. And then hopefully there's been some more motivation on the senior end of like, okay, I guess I don't have a choice, I better jump on this bandwagon and learn, otherwise I'm going to become even more isolated, especially in the context of the pandemic. How is it continuing to be funded, like this hotline that you're talking about, which I find amazing? You can, and by the way, I might need to use it sometimes. What's older adult mean? Can I get on? Who's funding all of this? Like, and how are you still getting the teenagers to be a part of it?
Yeah, so we get funding from several grants throughout Canada and States. So it's kind of a mix and match of different funds that we get funding from. We do partner with Best Buy Teen Tech Centers in the States, for example. And so, we do a bunch of programs through two different funds in different areas. So that's how we fund kind of our free public services. We also do kind of more paid partnerships with organizations. So for example, we have a paid partnership with Senior Court in the States where we train seniors who volunteer for their foster grandparents program. These are senior volunteers who have also had to switch to a virtual model. And since we kind of are virtual volunteers doing tech training, it's kind of a perfect fit. So we fund it partially through doing some paid partnerships, and also through applying for various grants and funds that keep us both afloat in Canada and the States. So it
would be really interesting if one of the ways you could grow it is getting through all the school districts around and trying to give credit for kids,
Yes.
not just volunteer hours, but actually credit within classes as part of a technical program for kids in high school towards their degree, or that kind of thing.
So we've also actually done that too. I kind of failed to mention, but we have done co-op programs with different schools and universities as well. So we'll basically have people who come on, and they're more than doing just the basic volunteers. We have them help us create content and help kind of run the program. So we have all of our regular volunteers who do the phone calls, who do the webinars, and then we have a lot of co-op students who do kind of more of the detail-oriented kind of work and help us out with that. So we really are, completely powered by volunteers. We wouldn't be able to do anything without them. They are really the entirety of our organization. So because of that, we're able to keep it. And besides, I want to mention that besides just the hours that students get from doing the volunteering with us, I think they also they benefit. We've seen that through this pandemic, the two most kind of vulnerable and affected groups have been young people and people, and they've both experienced extreme social isolation from this. And so not only is it a great opportunity for kids to be able to kind of hone their communication skills to get those volunteer hours, for seniors to get online and learn a new skill and keep their brains sharp, but for both to have that aspect of community and socialization and to keep them, give them something both to look forward to do in when we're in lockdowns, in and out and all of that.
Absolutely. So let's move on to your next project, Dev, Sam, and Ange. And maybe you've already answered the question, because I was curious why two young women would be interested in a world of caregiving, unless you're personally thrown into it. You did mention having to get community hours and I don't know what, if that's the reason or if there's something more behind your drive and interest and to produce something related to caregiving. Maybe Saffron, maybe you can answer that.
Right. Well, when I first got the idea for the Cyber Seniors documentary, I just thought it was a very cute concept. This idea of the seniors and the teenagers coming together. There was a lot of heartwarming moments. There was a lot of kind of comedy there. So that was kind of where the idea came from for the documentary film. And we really thought this is a film that would help or be of interest to seniors and teenagers. But what we found when the film was released was our main audience was caregivers. For some reason, that's not something we thought about. We were thinking about the older and the younger, but we weren't thinking about the people in the middle who have these aging parents and teenagers. So those are the people who were seeing this film and resonating with it and kind of going, I need to get my mom into this program. I need to get my teenager into this program. And to today, we still see that with our program. A lot of the teenagers and a lot of the senior citizens are referred to our program by that sandwich generation, someone who's in the middle, who sees the opportunity there.
Okay, so that was the start of it. And then what about the actual series? Dev, Sam, and Ange.
It
First
was
of all,
Dev, Sam, and Ange. We did switch it to Sam, Dev, and Edge to reflect that it's the youngest, middle, and oldest.
okay, so wait, it is Dev first, right?
No, it's Sam first. So
Oh my God, that's hysterical. I've been saying it the opposite. So
no,
Dev.
that was what it was initially in the application, and then we've had to change it since the realization that it made more logistic sense for Sam to go first, and then Sam would just Dev in the middle of the
Okay. Oh yeah. Visually too. So
Yeah.
okay, so these characters, this situation, is it based on anything real for you guys, or is this, based on a compilation of people that you know?
Yeah, so I think this really spurred from when we actually we deal with these stories every day. I am the program director for Cyber Seniors, so I actively work with teens and seniors on a daily basis, and so you hear these stories, or you see these things firsthand, these wonderful moments of learning and community and connection. And so when we heard about the TELUS Fund, we just thought, this is a perfect opportunity. We already are kind of all involved in this sphere of kind of a caregiving world through Cyber Seniors, and we're also all in film. So it seemed like the perfect combination of things for us. And so we wanted to create this series, and we decided to make it a narrative rather than documentary. One, because we've done the documentary, we've told the story in that format before, but also I think for us it served to actually capture the moments that we have seen throughout. We've been told these stories, we've experienced these stories of how those moments of joy when you get to connect with someone and someone learns something new, and the joy from the actual middle generation, the caregivers, and all of that. And we wanted to be able to basically kind of compass that into one story to accumulate the experiences that we've witnessed into something that could be felt. Because I think it's one thing, in the documentary format, we had that and you saw those moments, but we really wanted to be able to feel them and to communicate them in a way, in a different way that we have before, and kind of be able to pull from all the stories we've heard.
Yeah.
And I think that incorporating, that sandwich generation has been so important, because oftentimes, the moments that we actually don't get to see are the moments of, the middle generation, having that relief or being so happy to hear about it. We don't actually get to see that. We hear from caregivers all the time. We often get notes from people's children or parents saying, this really brought a lot of joy to my parent in their later life, and it really turned things around and changed a lot for them. So we just wanted to be able to show all those aspects in a clear, succinct way, and we thought that a narrative was great, and it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to tell that story. And we had the material. It was just about finding a way to express it and finding a place to show it.
So Saffron, when you're using humor in the caregiving world, and I think it's really important to, and when I'm meeting with clients, I will often make jokes whatever it might be. I mean, it's so tense. It's such an intense process, and it's very stressful. And we all know that humor can really diffuse situations, lighten things, find silver linings. But then there's also a balance. There's a line of when, especially when it's not humor that your subject is bringing out, initiating on their own, but you're actually scripting it. There's a line, a fine line, right? A balance of what's too much. How are you guys looking at that? Are you working with, actual caregivers? Are you working with, caregiving experts? How are you managing to balance that line, showing respect for the situation and also bringing some humor?
Well, we had some experience when making the documentary film on, finding that line. And I can give you an example. We had one senior in our documentary film. Her name was Shora, and she was, a really feisty older woman. She was about 90 years old at the time. And one day, she had been watching YouTube cooking tutorials, and she decided she wanted to make her own YouTube cooking tutorial. And the cooking tutorial she wanted to make was, she didn't have a stove or an oven in her retirement residence apartment. So she would use an iron to make a grilled
I
cheese
love it.
sandwich. I
Yeah.
know, we thought it was hilarious. So we're like, oh, we're going to film this. We're going to put it online. It'll be great. And her kids will love it. And her grandkids will love it. And not that we got in trouble for that, but there was a conversation afterwards from the retirement residence, she shouldn't really be doing that. It's not really safe. We didn't know that she was doing this every day. And now we've been made aware of it, and we need to put a stop to it. So that was a lesson for us of, what is that line? Because for me at the time, I was young, I was in my mid-20s. I just thought this was hilarious. I wasn't really thinking about
The safety.
that aspect of it.
Mhm.
And in fact, I kind of thought, well, I also don't want to stifle this woman. She's had a lot taken away from her in terms of physical capabilities. What is that line between kind of allowing this person to be who they are and still maintain some sense of independence, but making sure that it's done in a safe way? So our character, Dev, there are moments like that where his mother is this feisty older woman and she wants to do things herself. And he wants to respect that. But it also kind of drives him insane sometimes because he's worried about her.
Yeah.
Also, we just wanted to touch on the relatability of just somebody in that kind of middle generation. Like, you see things online all the time. This relatability of, you see mom groups where it's like, you can joke about the difficulties of having a young child and laugh about it. And it doesn't make you a terrible mom because I have a 1-year-old now. It doesn't make you a terrible mom because sometimes you want to vent about what your toddler did that day, I think caregivers deserve more of that as well. Just kind of this way to communicate and air their grievances and know this is lighthearted and fun. I still love my parent, but sometimes they drive me insane and I need to talk about that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And there are like acceptable levels of humor we can use. And for most people it works. And then there's a small percentage where they wouldn't think it was funny. So like I made the joke about, well, raising teens is hard enough. And there might be a few people who listen to that go, God, Stephanie's horrible. She just said something hard about her, bad about her teens. But most parents of teenagers go, oh my God, it's like slamming doors, eye rolling, yelling, like, we'll make jokes about it. But it does, it lightens it. And I like that you guys are using humor. That's one of the things I really liked when I read it, is that finally someone is like in inappropriate situations, lightening what it is. Caregivers will tell me when their parents have Alzheimer's, oh, she's really mad at me right now when I show up, let's say that, oh, she's mad at me, she's angry at this or that. I'm like, but whatever, because as soon as you leave, she's not even going to remember she was mad at me. And they kind of laugh and say, hey, one of the benefits of Alzheimer's. And they need to say that. They need to find something humorous about the situation to help them cope. So I really like you're doing that. I have a question, but I just someone commented and I want to read it. Amani Saad said, thank you very much for this important topic. Caregiving has been a real challenge during the pandemic, with almost all volunteer programs put on hold where I practice in Alberta as a geriatrician. Your stories are very inspiring. Thank you, Amani. Appreciate that. So I wanted to, because I had asked a question, but I didn't really get an answer from you, Macaulee. Are Dev, Sam, or Ange based on real people? Can you really tell me?
Yeah, they're like a compilation of people. I think that, definitely aspects of Ange are our grandmother, but they're also like Shura from the documentary. And there's certain things. So there's like this voicemail, like at one point, Dev calls his mother and there's just this voicemail that's kind of, I guess, kind of sassy. And that's just based on like the like hundreds of seniors I've called and voicemails I've gotten to, and
Yeah.
you know, sometimes they're just kind of like they really like, a lot of them really go for it, their voicemail, and add a lot of personality and humor to it. So yeah, I mean, I think the person who is based most on a person is probably the Ange character, a combination of our grandma, and also a combination of Cheryl from the documentary. Um, Dev, yeah, I think they're just people and things we've heard.
From our mother and our aunt who care for our
Yeah.
Okay.
grandmother, stories that we've heard.
And Sam is definitely, you know, I can think of a few volunteers who like probably inspired aspects of his character and personality too. Sorry, it's the sirens out there now.
That's okay.
But I think that like, you know, kind of with that too, with saying who these are people are inspired by, I think that's also speaks to the humor, right?
Yes.
We know that like a lot of the humor we use is based on the humor that we hear in our interactions with seniors, the jokes that they make. Like, you know, we're not making up thing in so many parts of this. This is things that have been said to us, jokes that have been said to us. And I think the other aspect is not only showing the frustration of Deb towards his mother, but his mother, Ange, towards him, and to Sam towards him, and all their frustration. And I think the big thing too that we wanted to touch on with this series is, you know, not just, you know, a direct caregiver role. You know, when you're a caregiver, you're giving to someone, but how these relationships can be, I guess, like kind of cyclical. You know, Sam is providing, you know, support to Ange, and Ange is providing something to Sam in the realm of company and in interest, and Dev is providing it for both of them. And how can they then come together and then support Dev as their caregiver? And then, so, you know, how do we, you know, what is the give and take of these relationships, and not just seeing them as so one-sided? Because I think that's also the thing that we see. And when we talk about, you know, our volunteers and the seniors, it's often like, wow, these volunteers are giving so much to these seniors, but like actually these seniors are also giving so much to our volunteers in terms of wisdom, of company, of you know, a sense of confidence, because they're able to be the expert on something, and the seniors are able to learn and you know, be able to tell their stories and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
that's another thing I really like about this too, is that having the three subjects, you're bouncing between the different perspectives, because a lot of what we watch is a very linear perspective of someone's experience. And I think it's really interesting to see, or will be interesting to see, how do you pull out a teen's observations and perceptions of this situation, these dynamics in the family, when he himself is having his own struggles as a shy teenager, as I think how you described him in your pitch and such. So I like that there's going to be all of these different perspectives. I think that's good. And the other piece I'll be interested to see how it plays out is like the expectations between the generational roles. So for example, I was telling my daughter that I wish that my mom and her husband could come and live with us. And so my daughter's like, I don't know, it'd be too much. And they'd come in my room, and like, she's got her whatever reason, she's a teenager. But I was saying to her, but we need to take care of our parents. This is our responsibility. So already she's getting a message from me that then she's going to learn, hopefully, and take care of me. We'll see. Jury's out on that. But I think that's why I like this so much. It's because it's all of the generations and all of their interactions, dynamics, perspectives, all worked in. I mean, I know you're only funded for the pilot, but I'm sure you're hoping you're going to get funded for the full series as well. And when the pilots are coming out, I think March 28th, right?
Oh, I muted myself. Yeah, I believe that's when they come out.
I think it's March 28th. So for everyone who's watching, you'll get to see this on the Stories for Caregiver.com platform, which is, you know, just your website. You can go onto their Facebook channel, and they'll also have a YouTube channel. And so everything is online. It's all web series. There's going to be, I think there's 6 or 7 pilots, I can't remember, that are going to come out, and there'll be a voting system. And then TELUS will choose who they're going to fund for the rest. So we're all in competition with each other, because I want the funding too for my own, but I still wish you guys the best of luck. And I really do love what you're bringing forward. Is there anything that you want to add about this project that we haven't covered?
I don't think so. I mean, we actually just did, this is perfect timing. We actually just did film it Monday and Tuesday of this week. So I know Saffron's getting, into some heavy editing today. Maybe she's already started, but yeah, we're really, really excited. We think there's some like really great moments in terms of, seeing the things that I think, as I said, can be explained, but when you get to see them and experience them firsthand, it really shows kind of the joy of these intergenerational relationships and these, support systems that we have and that we've seen so beautifully form through our community. And so yeah, we're just really excited to share it and to share what a joy those kinds of caregiving relationships can bring, and hopefully give people some ideas and help them out on their journey and their work being caretakers.
Wonderful. Yeah, we did some filming 2 weeks ago, but we had to postpone with the family because we're filming with we have 2 experts, which we already filmed, and then we have a family, but they're older adults, and with the numbers of COVID, we've postponed. So our fingers are crossed. We're supposed to go next week, and it looks like it's going to work out. But that's been, just a hiccup, and probably for you guys too. I want to give a couple more comments. Amani is still giving us lots of comments before we close out. First of all, she said, I believe we can get the best out of the situation. I would suggest getting teens and the families involved in the grandparents' caregiving and get volunteer hours as an incentive. But that's exactly what they do with the Cyber Seniors project. It's Cyber Seniors, right? Yeah. Connecting generations with that project. That's exactly what it is. She also said she's thinking out of the box to cope with the current challenges of loneliness and social isolation. Teenagers can be a great asset in the equation, which would definitely turn out to be a win-win situation. And that's exactly what you guys are doing, because as you were saying, our kids can take something away from this experience as well too. And I think these kinds of partnerships between older adults and children can create and help the newer generation feel more compassion, more empathy. And it's in all of our best interest to get it going, because we're all going to need it eventually when we're older too. And I find that in North America, our younger generation is not so great about taking care of the older generation. Lots of countries and lots of areas, it's very different. And here it's a very send them away, it's not my problem sort of response. Not obviously everywhere, but I see this a lot, and I find it so disheartening. So these kinds of projects like Cyber Seniors that you did, it's fantastic, because it's really helping, to me, like society in a much larger sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that an older generation and a younger generation, because they're, they have that sandwich generation between them, have a lot more in common than they think, and also they have the same person to complain about, so they can do it together.
Yeah, another silver lining, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So it's Saffron and Macaulay Cassiday, and so there's lots of different links. First of all, TELUS Stories for Caregivers. You can search that, and that's where you're going to find this pilot coming out at the end of March. And then for your film production company, do you want to give the coordinates for that?
Sure. The production company is called The Best Part. And Cyber Seniors is...
So it's bestpart.ca, and then Cyber Seniors is cyberseniors.org. So
what I'll ask you to do is email me those links, and then I'm going to put them in the comments section just to make sure that the links are there for everybody, so it's going to be easier for them to hop on. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time today to speak with me. I really do wish you the best of luck. I think it's a great project that you guys have. And
this was fun. Best of luck to you too. I hope you guys get to filming. No more delays.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay next week. We're feeling positive about it. So anyway, we have access to rapid tests. So of course, we'll do that beforehand. And then I think that will hopefully, calm everybody's nerves on the situation. So, but thanks so much. And I wish you guys the best of luck. Hang on. I'm going to end the broadcast, but you both just hang on for just a sec. Have a good day, everybody.